And hello, welcome everybody to the latest in a series of Niwa author interviews. With me today is Pam Cowan, who's the author of suspense thriller, science fiction, children's books, coloring books for adults and children. So, can we start off? Can you tell us something about your books? So, your suspense thrillers, Cold Kill and the Storm series, I've seen several times on Niwa tables.
Mhm.
Can you tell us a bit about those and the genesis of them?
Well, I write psychological suspense and mystery thrillers. And in my terminology, and I know it differs, a suspense story is when there's a clock ticking under a table, but we know it's there. And a mystery, we don't know it's there. And then a thriller means that the protagonist is also in danger. So I always throw my people in danger because my books are primarily, well, I have a tagline, damaged souls, dark justice. And the reason is I like to take a damaged person, someone who is dealing with something in their life, and then I like to throw something really horrific at them, like a serial killer, and see how they go. Um, so there's that element of psychology involved there, as at least I've been told this additional struggle for their own um, sort of sanity is part of the narrative. So the books are all kind of different, so there's different series. So maybe can I just start from the beginning and sort of tell you what got me to here?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, because
That's
I
good.
know I'm old and I have done a lot, and it's complicated a little bit even for me to. I had to
All
write
right.
some notes.
Yep.
I know I started out. I loved to read, but I thought authors were people who lived like in Olympus or on a mountaintop somewhere. I didn't think they were real normal people, like real people. And then my 13-year-old friend wrote a short story, which was really a really good story. And I thought, oh my gosh, real people that I know, maybe even me, could write a story. So I did write a short story, kind of like an outsider sort of thing. And I had my dad read it, and he cried. And I was hooked because if you can make your dad cry, that's some power, right? So from there, I sort of got into writing short stories, and I really loved science fiction at that time and still do. So I wrote a lot of science fiction, and I got into. Um, I got to put these on so I can read my notes. Um, well, I joined a group of folks here in Klamath Falls who had gone to a writing class, and the teacher was just awful. So we splintered off and formed our own writing group, which is now the Klamath Writers Guild. It's been active for, I'm not going to say long, it's been around for a long time. And with their help, I started to really get better at what I was doing. And then I went to OIT and I went to work. And I loved reading and writing so much that I kept doing weird things. Like I founded the first writing club at OIT. And it too is still active, which I didn't even know this. And I was just really happy to hear about that years and years later, decades later. Um, then I moved on to Portland to finish my degree. And I worked for the writing center there. And I started the first Writing Center newsletter, which now is a 4 credit course. So you see, I'm not just a writer, but I want everyone to be a writer, which is why I think
Oh,
Niwa was such a good fit for me.
ah,
So then I took a class with Ursula Le Guin, and I know I'm supposed to brag a little, and I don't have a ton of
well,
braggy
it's
stuff,
actually
but
really
I
cool.
it's very hard to brag about yourself. I found this to be true. So,
Yeah.
but but I will tell you that I was one of 13 out of 300 applicants that got to take this class with her,
Oh, wow.
and it was about the left hand of darkness and forces of fantasy, and so that got me to write my first book, which was Yetzirah. And so my first novel was a fantasy, even though I didn't really read fantasy, but that was Ursula's doing. Um, and then from there, I guess I wrote Something in the Dark the same year, which is a mystery, psychological mystery suspense. It's got it all in there. It's a domestic, they call it a domestic thriller. And I published both in 2011, right after I went to a Niwa meeting, because that was the first group I'd heard of that would work with independent publishers. And I had gone to the Gold Beach Coast Conference for Writers, and I met this agent. She wanted 15%, and she wanted me to do all the calling, the transportation, the pay for everything. And I thought, what am I getting for 15%? That's when I got back home and started looking for independent publishing folk. And Mike Chonakis and Adam Copeland had just started this group in Vancouver. So I drove up there and it just clicked immediately. And I would say I'm the only of that initial group, the only one still here in Niwa. So I am the oldest member of Niwa.
Oh wow.
I'm not sure I'm not the oldest, but I'm the how would I phrase that?
The most long lasting. You've been there the longest.
Yes,
Is how you mean. Yeah.
I'm probably close to the oldest anyway. But I went to work soon after that. I was working for probation and parole, and I was hearing a lot of stories from folks about the one that got away, the abusive guy, the people they wish the courts had done more to. And I decided to write a character who could do what they couldn't. I made her a probation officer, oddly enough, write what you know. And that's what she did. She hooked up with one of her sketchy clients, and together they went out in the first book and they found people who had gotten through the court system without being punished, and they punished them very well. They killed them because it's definitely a Dexter and Address kind of a story. And it became a 3-book series. And I recently turned it into an omnibus so that all 3 are contained in one volume.
Yeah. But before Dexter, I guess, right? Because
I think it was pre-Dexter.
Yeah.
Although I wasn't a huge, and still am a huge fan of Dexter. I appreciate anyone that can take a dark individual like that and make him someone you root for. That's some writing. That's amazing. So that's the story of that section or that sort of book. But it was so dark. I actually used to write it listening to really high-pitched violin music because it would get me all stressy.
Oh.
And then I could get in Storm's head. So I had to get away from that. And I was also working for eHow at the time, writing how-to articles. So for about 2 years there, every time you looked for which eHow has been bought by another company, but for a long time there, if you looked for an eHow article, you would find me.
Oh,
but cool. I really liked writing about how to find free stuff on the internet. So if you were looking for birdhouse plans or anything, I might have an article for you. So that was a lot of fun. When eHow got sold, they paid me for all of my copyright for all of my articles. And I left that out, but that's the money I used to then become a self-publisher.
Oh, wow.
Because it's not wholly free to do that.
Right.
So then I wrote a few standalone novels. I wrote Cold Kill, which has been my most successful novel. I even pulled it out so I could show folks. I think it's successful because of the cover. I also do cover design for folks now that I'm insane. I was going to say
that is a cool cover.
Retired, but retired doesn't apply to writers.
Right.
So it's still my bestseller, and I think it's partly because I didn't write the last chapter; it wrote itself. I was done, and I said, "Okay, the end," and it said, "No."
A little bit more.
As a writer, Pat, when a book says, or your characters say, "No,"
right,
you have no choice to listen. I also wrote the L&M series, and I met this lovely neighbor of mine who's the retired ADA for the county, has just a head full of great stories about creepy people. And so I wrote the L&M detective series. The first one was Fire and Lies, followed by Hide and Sneak, and I'm working on the third. And I did it mostly with his strange stories of things that have happened in this county to kind of base it on.
So the L&M is the most current one,
Um,
and that's your
actually,
next.
in the series, yeah,
Okay.
it's my most current series. In the standalones, I would say Repo Man is my most current book. Um, I'm not even sure where the idea for Repo Man came from. I have a friend named I actually do. I'm lying. I met a guy named Bobby Poe, Poe,
Mm.
and I loved his name.
No.
And I got to talking to he's a friend of a friend, and it was COVID, and we would sit here at 8 o'clock at night on our computers and drink rum and keep each other from
Okay.
posting drunk. No drunk posting.
Oh, it's really smart.
Yeah, I think so. It's like that group of friends you go out and have a drink with, but online. It was quite
Hmm.
fun. And but as a name, I loved his name. And so I kept playing with that name and I decided, oh, Repo. So the title is spelled wrong, but
Mhm.
it's about a young man who's in foster care. And I got a little bit of Bobby's story from him. And how he meets well, he gets in trouble with the law. He goes into the military. He gets back, and then he sort of becomes a repo man. He's sort of the if the law won't touch it, he'll go out and retrieve it for you at a cost kind of guy. So I don't know what that. And I wrote it in a male voice, so that was tough because I would send it to my son, who's a contractor, and he would read it and he would say, "No,
Oh.
no man would say this or do this." So so I did a lot of editing to have that more masculine voice and that more, it was definitely a fun book. And um, I have to get some marketing done on that because I haven't had a whole lot of feedback yet. But it's my newest one. Um, so I think that's pretty much it as far as the main novels that I've done.
Yeah. And then L&M is the next thing you're coming out with, the third one of the
The
L&M
third in that
series.
series. Well, no, actually, I think
Or
the next thing
oh,
coming out this month is probably the second in that fantasy series, which is Yetzer is actually part of the Pocket World series. And so
okay.
Yetzer is the first book. The second book will be Quantum.
Oh,
The first book posits what would happen if magic leaked from my portal magic world into our normal muggle world. This one wonders what would happen if the physics and the natural laws of this world leaked into the magical world. So I think it'll be complete in 2 series, and I can't study any more quantum physics without my brain exploding.
that sounds interesting though.
I
Yeah.
think it was really fun to research, but yeah, it gave me a huge headache. I don't want to read about quarks or no, I'm done. So
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, so you talked a little bit about Niwa too and your involvement there. You've been there pretty much from the beginning or from the beginning. um, so now you are the editor of our anthologies that we put out every year,
mhm.
right? How did you get to be doing that? Was that something you just picked up, or were those your idea to
Oh,
begin with?
well, I was an editor for Nano Buffalo. Good Lord. I was an editor for Nano Bison, which is a speculative fiction magazine that is no longer, working.
Hmm.
But I did that for a year, and it was super educational, really good for a writer to understand why stories are rejected, because it often
Hmm.
had nothing to do with quality and everything to do with theme or size of the story. And so I would say, do editing. But that's where I got the skill set to be able to do this. And then in Niwa, I think originally I did book covers for the anthology, which was actually the first anthology was way back in I think 2011 or 12. It was Mike Chinakos who had the idea
Hmm.
for it. And then from there, we had a number of different editors who did different who brought different energies, I guess you'd say, to it.
Hmm.
And we had one who was perhaps a little too I don't know what the word is, but just not a good fit with people as independent
Hmm.
publishers tend to be independent people. They
Hmm.
don't march to the same freaking drummer. And so you needed someone who was a little more bendy. And the person we had was very rigid in their
Oh,
approach. And so they came and tapped me and said on the shoulder, said, "Hey, you're an old hippie. This might be the perfect." In the meanwhile, I had been the communications director for Niwa for a while, but what I did was the print stuff. Like here's what I've been working on this. I'm making a new card for us, but this kind of thing, business cards, this sort of thing. Not social media, not that. So I gave that job up, hoping that a younger person with those skills would step in, which she did. And so I wasn't necessarily bored, but the anthology had presented itself, and I thought, well, I want to stay engaged, so why not take the anthology job? It's only 4 months a year. I can do that.
Oh, that's all.
Yeah. And the fun part of that has been finding readers, finding editors, proofreaders, because it's a peer read and reviewed process.
Mhm.
And my job really is to blind all the submissions, then send them to 3 readers, get their feedback, put that all together in a, again, palatable form, because some readers can be very um, well, cruel, not intentionally cruel, but
Oh,
some, especially our younger, not younger, I don't mean younger by age, but newer
yeah,
writers
people.
can have very thin skins.
Hmm.
And so you want to approach them and you want them to get better. That's part of our mission statement.
Right.
But we also don't want to scare them away. Or I mean, I've had such bad critiques in my history that I just quit writing for 6 months, curled up in a
Hmm.
ball in a corner. I don't want to trigger or traumatize one of our writers. So I will take what they give me and I will massage it so that it is a little kinder sometimes. And that's sort of my job, is just sort of to be the gatekeeper there, as far as, and then we get beautiful rewrites. I don't think we've had any refusals on rewriting things, or anyone who didn't understand that, this could use some correction.
Mhm.
Um, I'm not immune. I write for the anthology too. I submit short stories. I send it out to 3 people blind, and then I go through the whole process as any writer does. Like, oh, what are they going to say? What are they going to say? Of course, I get to see exactly what they say.
Right.
There's that part, but yeah. So it's kind of a fun thing. It's kind of a scary thing. I don't want to offend anyone. I've certainly made people angry by saying, "I'm sorry, we don't want your story." Is part of the job, and I've done it
Right.
before. I can deal with it. Um, so mostly, then this year we've had just a huge group of volunteers step up. We have a couple of new people that I don't even know yet. I think the anthology is super popular, and I'm very happy with the way it's moving.
Cool. So, yeah, we're about at the end here. Do you have any other upcoming events or where people can see you in person
I just did
or
one for Christmas.
things
But
happening?
since I moved away from the Portland area, I don't get to do a lot. I may come up to Redmond for one of the cons, in March. I may do the Raspberry Festival in, I can't remember where now. My brain went, but somewhere up there, up that away. So I don't do a lot of in-person events anymore since moving to Southern Oregon. Obviously, I'm not in the core area. However, we are talking about potentially Medford, Grants Pass, and maybe finding some events around here that I would be able to set up. But we'll see. We'll see how things work. Um,
And do you have a website or social media people can find you at?
I do. I have a website that I am in the middle of. The only problem with the website right now is I can't, somehow when it morphed into Square, it doesn't want to let me in. So I haven't been able to update my footer. So it still says 2025. And I know
Oh,
that's nitpicking, but it drives me nuts. But the website is PamelaCowan.com. And it has all my current books, and it has links to everything. I believe it still has a writer's page on it to help writers to find resources such as, free artwork and all those kind of things.
oh, very
So
cool.
readers or writers, welcome to drop by. There is a contact page on there. I'd love to hear from folks. Um, Anyone that has questions about Niwa, I'm certainly happy to talk about that or to plug you into other Niwa members. I think one of the richest things about Niwa is there is this network of people who are skilled in many different aspects of writing, publishing, marketing, and most of them are willing to share for free. I mean, where are you going to find a group like that? I have been in many, many groups, many critique groups, um, and other writers organizations. I've never found one that is as welcoming and just darn nice as the folks in Niwa are.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And again, this is Pam Cowan. You can find her on on her website and with Niwa everywhere. And thank you very much. And